I paid attention to the Endeavor takeover at UFC, so I'm pretty familiar with how they do things over there, and also what I expect to happen over here. But yeah, it's gone through, and it was history. The McMahon's no longer owned the biggest promotion in wrestling. I mean, Vince is still the most powerful guy in it because he's the most powerful guy in this group. But yeah, he doesn't own it anymore, which is something I never thought that I'd say.
WWE, UFC, they're under this one umbrella right now. It's happened quite quickly, would you say?
So when was it announced? I should have really remembered this. It was April.
The day after WrestleMania.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's right. Because over that whole weekend, there was rumors about that happening. Or maybe it was announced. I don't remember. But yeah, it was the Raw after WrestleMania where they announced it. And I'd say it's pretty... I was told that it was going to be finished by the end of the year, probably a bit sooner than I expected. But that just means that there wasn't any issues, really. And everything was above board. And there was no issues with Endeavor having to pause on anything. So... yeah, it's gone. The deal has gone through, and the last pay-per-view that the WWE promoted, which was the one that people didn't seem to enjoy that much. It was Seth and Neck. Yeah, Seth and Neck in the main event. That was the last main event that they ever promoted as a WWE, and yeah, it's a whole new direction. You got a whole new. I say it's a whole new direction. I don't think it's going to be that different on television, but as far as the business, the way they do their business going forward, even what I've been reading over the last couple of days, it'll be a lot of it's going to be different. There's going to be people leaving the company. Obviously, I don't think from the wrestling side of it, but it's more so from the office. I paid attention to the Endeavor takeover at UFC, so I'm pretty familiar with how they do things over there, and also what I expect to happen over here. But yeah, it's gone through, and it was history. The McMahon's no longer owned the biggest promotion in wrestling. I mean, Vince is still the most powerful guy in it because he's the most powerful guy in this group. But yeah, he doesn't own it anymore, which is something I never thought that I'd say ever.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we came together the night that Vince McMahon retired. That's when we spoke, and you know, obviously it's been a whirlwind since then. He's left, he came back, and whatever the case is, and now he no longer owns the company, like you said. Listen, the information's out there, so people can read about the merger and all of that kind of stuff. I guess what a lot of people want to know, and what we were just alluding to earlier, is what does this merger mean for fans? Maybe in terms of product that they're going to get. I think we saw something today about a change of belts and things of that nature. And I remember in our Discord, you basically poo-pooed it, saying you don't think that's going to happen. What do you think this means for fans in terms of, are we getting anything in terms of a different product or presentation?
You know, I'm saying all this now because they haven't even promoted a show. Their first show that they're going to be doing is... was it Tuesday, actually? What day was the merger? Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday officially. So I guess SmackDown Friday night. Obviously, as we're recording, it's the 14th of September. So 15th will officially be the first show under this umbrella.
Yeah, I mean, Mex, when I get sent a lot of tweets and I get sent all sorts of stuff throughout the day. Tell me something. What is BWE? I've seen so many tweets today.
I've saw that so much today, and I don't know who that is.
I'm like, what on earth is this? And what kind of news are they reporting? Because I've seen them, and people are saying, is this true? And it's just like, I'm looking at this, and I was like, no, this isn't true. So this is, or even I've seen stuff today where they're reporting stuff, and like, oh, WWE interested in Ricky Starks. I'm like, fuck, isn't that common knowledge? Like,
yeah.
I mean, fuck, you know, Collision. I've got some news. Collision's going to have wrestling matches and in-ring segments, and it's going to lead to Grand Slam. Exclusive information from knowledge there, but
as
I mean,
per knowledge,
you know. But yeah, I seriously, I had to ask. I wasn't sure what that was, but do I think that it's going to be any different? No, I don't think it's going to be different at all as far as what you see on television. I think if you didn't pay attention to the news and you were just a happy WWE member of the WWE universe, I think if you watch Monday's show and then you watch Friday and you continued watching, I don't think you'd see any difference in anything, because the same people are running the show. Vince McMahon. So this group, the TKO group, is going to be headed by Ari Emanuel, who is the guy in Endeavor, and he's going to be head of this group. Now, Ari does not get involved in UFC business, and he's openly said he's not going to get involved in the WWE business because he doesn't know pro wrestling. Do you know who does know pro wrestling? Do you know who has marketed themselves as being the person in pro wrestling? As in Vince, you know what? Vince McMahon is the guy. Now, Vince McMahon, to me, hasn't touched gold in a long time. Before the Bloodline, I don't think they touched gold in a long time. But he's still got this reputation, even in some circles, being the person that created wrestling. Right? Yeah. So that is the guy that he trusts to run the company. So Vince McMahon, early last year was branded a sex pest and sexual. He's settled out of court on sexual assault and all sorts of stuff in the last year. And now you asked me on this platform a year ago, do I think Vince McMahon will come back? And I said no. I should have known better, because it's Vince McMahon we're talking about. This isn't somebody. This is Vince McMahon. He's always going to come back, and he's come back. And look at him now. Look at him now. He came back. Yeah, he bullied himself back onto the board, and he bullied himself back into creative. And now he has a top spot after Ari, who isn't going to get involved. So he's now running the company. So whatever you've seen in the last few weeks, nothing's going to change. He's back to work as well. If you look at the board of directors, the only names that wrestling fans will recognize are Vince McMahon and Nick Khan.
Yeah,
and Triple H is going to be head of creative, and Vince is going to oversee him and any changes that he sees as being important. He will make, which has always been the case.
Just on that quickly, I think I did see something that specifically said that yes, Triple H is going to remain head of creative because during this period when he's been in charge, they can see things are up. He's done a good job. Obviously, like you said, Vince is going to be overseeing that. So in terms of a title as head of creative, how much of that do you really believe?
I mean, he's the head of creative. So, I mean, ultimately, the head of creative is Vince McMahon. The reason why is because he can say yes and no to anything. That's always been the case. Stephanie was the head of creative, and her dad would shut her down in meetings routinely, and Triple H has been in charge of creative over the last year. And, they've had tremendous business since last summer. Like, they have been, their TV ratings are through the roof. Their live attendance is fantastic. They are hot. But that started under Vince.
Yeah, that's true.
It started under Vince. Triple H got a product that was hot. And don't get me wrong, he made it hotter. But I think if Vince was still there, it would have been in the same position. Just the momentum that they had after WrestleMania when Cody showed up.
Yeah.
That was the catalyst. Cody come in for whatever reason was the catalyst, and then you got the Bloodline thing with Sami Zayn, which started under Vince McMahon. Whether or not it would have gone in that direction is a different story, but it all started under him. But as far as Triple H, he's going to be, he's working with those writers, those 20 to 30 writers that they've got working for them, and he's going to be putting the shows together, and then they present it to Vince, and then Vince is going to go yes or no. There was a lot of changes on Monday, apparently. Vince was a lot of the stuff that they promoted and they did, it wasn't advertised because he was saying and he changed a lot of stuff, and that's what it's going to be like going forward. He had surgery on his neck. I saw him at the New York Stock Exchange the other day, and he I don't want to say he looked good because he didn't, but he didn't. I mean, he was standing there moving his arms around and stuff, showing no sign of whatever. And I mean, fuck, he was raided by the feds in July. And no one knows what that was about. Like, no one has any information about that. All we know is that the federal agents raided the WWE offices for his stuff. So I don't even know what's going on there. But yeah, that's where we're at. So Triple H is going to be booking the shows, and Vince is going to be the person overseeing it. And if he wants to change anything, he will. Now, Vince was on CNBC a while ago, when in April, when this deal was announced, and he said his words were, "I'm not going to get into the weeds of things, but I will pay attention to the bigger picture." So he's not going to be paying attention to I don't know, Otis's program with Ricochet or whatever, because I'm sure Vince McMahon walks down the hallways when he does go to work and he sees Ricochet and he goes, "Hey," and he don't remember his name. So that's just,
very
that's not me being a dick. That's just, he's always had a problem remembering. Vince, people used to they'd be fired and then come back to work, and these were stars that he had in his show, and he'd either call them the wrong name, or he'd talk to them and he'd be like, "Yeah, great," and he'd walk away and that person would think he has no idea who I am. Yeah, and he's always been like that. So, if it's Roman Reigns and Cody and especially Brock, because Brock deals directly with Vince, like, he's going to be doing that. But yeah, he's not going to be, worrying about whoever at the bottom of the card,